Hi everyone, this is Gavin from Gavin's Gadgets. This is the Huawei Nova 5T, a sort of a mid-range priced phone from Huawei. This is my review. I'm going to cover everything off about this from the camera, audio, everything you need to know, and at the end I'm going to tell you some secrets about this phone. It's a really big secret, and my final sort of summary findings on what you need to know should you wish to buy this. So first, let's look at some photos that this took from the camera. Take a look at the box. In the box you get the phone itself, like so. It's very shiny, it's a nice black version. Bring that closer. It's 4 AI quad cameras, 1, 2, 3 and 4. You've got the main sensor, 48 megapixels, you've got ultra wide, and then you've got two 2 megapixel cameras, one sort of macro type effect and one depth. You have various leaflets, booklets. I've taken, obviously I've been reviewing this, so I've taken off, but you've also got the SIM ejector tool on the back there. And in the box you have the 22.5 watt supercharger, so that's nice and fast. So in about half hour worth of charging using this, you'll fully charge the device up to 50%. You've got a USB-C connected to USB-A. They do have some nice handy sort of earphones headsets, and you'll notice here that that is also USB-C. So there is no headphone jack. And then for connecting 3.5mm to take it out, there is actually, which is becoming less and less in the boxes nowadays, you see less phones actually put the adapters in, but you do have the USB-C pass-through to a 3.5mm adapter. That is all quite handy. And if we take a look at the phone, just go through, you can see that's USB-C. You've got a microphone, you've got the speaker. The speaker's quite loud. The camera's on the back. It's a very clean looking back. If you go a bit closer here, you can see you've got the SIM tray, which is in there, and I will show you what that looks like. So if I take the SIM tool, let's have a look what we've got. And you can put two, it's a dual SIM, and that looks like 2 nano SIMs. And I'll just open this, so let's have a look. Yeah, so as you can see, this is dual SIM. The memory's fixed, so you can have 4G in both. You've got dual 4G settings there, which is good. If you have a look at some of the other settings, just while we're looking within here, this is pretty standard fare. You've got Bluetooth, NFC. You also have, so you can do Google Pay and stuff like that. You've got all the different themes. You can have app tray or no app tray. So you've got the options there as well. Let's bring that a bit down a bit so you can see that a bit clearer. And you've got home screen settings, so you can lock the layouts, auto align, that sort of stuff. Let's go through. On the display, you can adjust the color temperature, and you've got some fine tuning that's possible as well with the color temperatures. Have it exactly as you like. You've got eye comfort, text and display size. So here you've got all the toggles, and you can move stuff around however you want to get the ideal size. I quite like it as it is sometimes. To save battery, it also has something called smart resolution. So if you don't actually need to have the 1080p, it can drop it down at times to 720p, and that's probably full. Even doing stuff like this wouldn't surprise me if this is actually at 720p, because you just wouldn't know at times. And in more display settings, you can manage the notch. You can go full screen display, and you can actually force some of the apps to do that. You can take the carrier name network speed off, and if you didn't like the notch, you could hide it and do that. Personally, I don't see why you would, but again, that's the whole beauty of a phone like this with all these settings in EMUI 9.1, is that you can change everything as you like. Various sounds here. You can adjust the different sounds for the different SIM cards you've got in there. It does have the Huawei hiss and sound effects, which do make a lot of difference when you plug wired headphones in. Very, very handy. And you've got obviously usual battery saving modes. If you're playing any games and you want to play them in a higher performance mode with the Kira 980, you can. If you need to save battery, you've got the ultra power saving mode. You can control how the apps launch in the background. Battery usage, battery percentages. This is a comfortable 5-hour screen on time device, all day device, and depending on sort of stuff you use, you could probably get a day and a half. So if you forget to charge it overnight, I wouldn't panic too much. It's got face recognition for unlocking. It's got fingerprint ID, password vault. The fingerprint's on the side here. And I actually really like that, because for me, I'm naturally holding it. I'm actually left-handed, but I hold my phone on the right and use it on the right, and then sometimes use the left for moving around. In terms of some of the smart assistant stuff, it's got a whole section on accessibility, high touch. I don't like that, so I turn off high touch. It's got a one-handed mode, which works really well. Shows you how that works. Pretty simple, to be honest. Shortcuts and gestures. So hold down the power button, and that first brings up Google Assistant. And if you continue holding it, then you get the, do you want to turn off or reset the phone, reboot the phone. You've got split screen, wake up screen, various little shortcuts here. All standard affair, all work really well. On the digital headset, you can have some options there as well. Smart cover, missed touch prevention. I do recommend keeping that on. That works pretty good, to be honest. And then you've got the usual stuff in terms of software updates and also system navigation. So here you've got the 3 key, which is quite handy. You can have the floating dock as well. So if we show you that, and now you've got, if I just come out of this, you've got this button here, and you can use it literally as a home key. So if I went into settings and I tapped it once, there you go, it goes back. It is very, very simple to use. Let's actually show you some of the other options. Turn that particular bit off, and it shows you here how the different options work using that home key. It does work particularly well, but you might prefer gestures. So gestures is, I don't need the tutorial there, but literally gestures just to have your virtual buttons. So you swipe up to go home. When you want to go back, you can swipe from either side. And if you need Google Assistant, you go diagonally up. So you've got options however you want to use this. If you take a quick look at some of the camera modes, let's put this around this way for you so you can see. So if we're looking at the camera, let's take that out of the way. You've got your standard photo modes, portrait, night mode, which works very well, AR lens. Here you've got video, you've got more, and if you look here, you've got pretty much a huge array from panorama, HDR filter, super macro, moving picture, pro mode, and you can download a few extra ones as well. If we go back into video a second, and if we look at some of these settings in video, the maximum resolution is 4K. The stabilization for this actually works really well at 1080p. It is electronic stabilization, but at 4K, you really might need to hold that very steady because you haven't got much stabilization in play at all, none at all, to be honest. But you do have the option of 4K, but this phone works better at standard 1080p 30 frames per second. So I would recommend doing that. And these are the settings that you have when you're on video mode. What you'll notice is if you're ever in any of the different modes, that's when you see all the options for that particular mode. You can turn AI on or off. I don't mind it on at all. It does work particularly well. If you've got good lighting, you have the high resolution 48 megapixel AI ultra clarity mode. I only recommend that in good light. Otherwise, make the most of the pixel binning, where it does 4 pixels into one to get the best quality, lowest noise at 12 megapixels, and it does a pretty good job. You've got watermarks, you've got the assisted grid, you've got mute timer, audio controls, so if you want to use voice, if I turn it on, so it says, say cheese to take photos when you speak loudly at the camera is another option there as well. So again, it's got some really handy options for taking photos. And the photos is where this phone scores really highly. Portrait mode is excellent. I'm going to show you a whole load of samples as well. And you can see now I've turned the audio control on. The shutter button has like a little graphic equalizer playing. Very handy indeed. In terms of what you get, obviously you've got all the Google apps here. And some of the Huawei apps as well. And we could just have a look at what's installed. So you've got things from weather, calculator, compass, recorder, backup, phone clone, which is very good for moving from one phone to another. You do have the Huawei's own app store, health app, the High Care for after sales service and stuff like that, phone optimizer, and all in all, you do have a whole range of different stuff. What you haven't got, if you look at this very carefully, there is no FM radio. I have looked and you can see here, there is no FM radio. There is also, despite the fact that on the top here, that looks like it should have a IR blaster, there is no IR blaster on this particular phone. Just something to note. So hopefully everything you've seen so far has been really useful. We'll cover off the audio very quickly. It's good, Bluetooth's fine, headphone audio's fine, it's above average quality. It also has the adapter, even though it's USB-C, it has a 3.5 to USB-C adapter, and it's got the pass-through, so it uses the amp and DAC that's on here, and that does work really well. Even though it's single firing mono speaker, it is loud, that works nicely. But is there something really odd about this? Just going to play a bit while I'm talking of another video I did called the Honor 20. And you can see me there holding the Honor 20 in black, and it looks really similar to this Huawei Nova 5C. In fact, I'm going to say this particular version has 2 gig more RAM, so it has 8 gig instead of 6 compared to the Honor 20. But this does also come in 6 gig RAM. This is identical to the Honor 20, just badged Huawei. So why would you buy this over the Honor 20? Well, I suppose it depends if you're buying on contract, and maybe this is the phone your network has over the Honor 20, but they are identical. So it's a very competent phone. You will not be disappointed. It does have Google services. For that very reason, it's a model that's already been released, rebadged, or relabeled. So yeah, it works well. But until the situation with the China trade war is resolved one way or the other, it does put some of the longer term updates slightly in question, because it's still an unknown aspect. But if you're just buying it for the phone as is and it's a good deal on a contract, then yeah, I don't think you go wrong at this present time. But do be aware of the future availability of updates if the China and US trade war isn't resolved. Anyway, this is Gavin from Gavin's Gadgets. Catch you guys soon. Bye for now.